Hi, I'm Monty Franklin. I'm an Australian comedian living in America, teaching the world how poor our language is.
Welcome to That One Time with Adam Metwally, the podcast bridging the gap between health, hustle, and happiness. We're at Podcast for a While in Chelsea, New York City, and I'm with Australian comedian Monty Franklin, and we're going to get to know him over the next 10 minutes ahead of the full episode this week. Monty, who is in your stand-up Mount Rushmore of all time, and then separately of Australians?
Oh, all right. All time, I'm going to go with Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, Robin Williams, Steve Martin.
Are there 5 people in Mount Rushmore? I don't even know.
Sorry, there's more. No, you're right. I think there's 4. I went 5. You can't judge me because I'm an idiot and didn't know how many people were on Mount Rushmore.
We're just a silly Australians.
Yeah.
And how often I use that, bro? I'm like, I don't know shit. I'm just a silly Australian. But
this is what I'm going to say about that. All right. Well, I went 5. I don't know how many are actually on there.
4.
Well, Robin Williams and Steve Martin are the same person. No one knew that. Yeah. Have you ever seen them in the same room together? Not now. Whoops. Yeah. Too far.
And then what about Australians?
Oh, Australians. All right. Barry Humphries, Jim Jeffries, Jim Owen, Dave Hughes, and I'm going to go Kitty Flanagan. I think she's one of the funniest people on the planet, and I don't think she gets enough accolades for how good she is. So I'm going to chuck her up there. I did 5 again. I don't care about your rules.
So as a professional stand-up, how often do you bomb and how do you get used to it?
You know what? You don't ever, at this point, I've done it for 20 years, you don't bomb to the point where it's detrimental to your health. And it was in the beginning because you didn't know what you were doing and you thought, oh, I'm terrible. No one will ever love me. But if it's bad now, it's just like, I got to get through this. I did a corporate gig recently I won't say who it's for, but it was for a big organization. Everyone would know who it is. And there was a big ballroom with 1,200 people. And I said, do not do a live auction before me. The room will be tatters. And of course they did a live auction and then no one paid attention to me. So 1,200 people not paying attention to you is soul destroying, but I'm comfortable enough in my career now that I just went, I'm getting a big fat check and I don't care what any of these people think, to be honest. So that's how the bombing goes now. You still get a big check after.
You still get paid.
So it's worth it.
On the same topic as bombing, when did you realize you were funny?
I don't think I am, to be honest. I just think I know how to craft material and make it hilarious. I don't think I'm the funniest of my friendship group. I don't think I'm the funniest person going around. I definitely have funnier friends in situations. They're silly, but they can't get on stage and craft material the way that I've kind of learned how to do over a 20-year career. So I know that I'm funny and I can be, enjoyable to be around. What the hell am I talking about? But I think innately there's something I noticed when I was probably about 8 to 10 years old. My family are all very funny. So half of my family, and it's usually most of the women in my family are really funny and the men are quiet and kind of sit there. And I remember thinking, am I going to be one of these quiet ones in my family or am I going to be the loud, hey, look at me one? And I remember thinking, I want to be the loud, hey, look at me one. So I started to be a bit more dramatic and open just at Christmas lunch and stuff like that. So I think early on I knew that was my persona, to be a bit bigger and a bit louder and a bit brash. So maybe about then.
Yeah, got it. And we're going to dig into how to actually be funny in the full episode. So let's see where that lands. Well, I mean, you got a framework apparently. So
you do.
You do.
Well, there's levels of funny too, yes. Yeah. There's stage funny, there's writing funny, there's acting funny. There's a lot of different ways to be funny.
How much of a story you tell on stage is real versus made up?
I'd say with me, it's about 90% true. And then I'll just embellish for the sake of storytelling, and there's nothing wrong with stretching the truth to make a yarn even funnier. It's a very Australian thing to do. So, yeah, you'll add on a little extra bits, but I do talk about my life a lot on stage. I don't tend to come up with outrageous scenarios that don't exist, which a lot of comedians do and is very funny. But I tend to talk about my life, my experience being Australian, living in America, things growing up, nostalgic things that people can relate to. So it is very sort of based in truth. I'd say 90%. I just chuck some icing on top sometimes just to turn the dial up a little bit on some things.
A little bit of cracked pepper.
A little bit cracked
some GST.
pepper. GST. You said that last night. That's so funny. Just a little GST, a little 10% on top.
So what was the best heckle you've ever received?
I tell you, one that stands out, and it wasn't the heckle that was good. It was just the aftermath that was really funny. So this was years ago. It was probably 10 years ago. It was at the Comics Lounge in Melbourne, which is where I started doing comedy. It's a great comedy club in Australia, probably the best. And I was finishing my show, my headlining set, and I had 2 minutes to go. It was a great show. I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. The crowd was. And then some lady from the back of the room yelled out, "Don't give up your day job," which was unnecessary because the show was fine. I wasn't like bombing or something. And I yelled back, well, I'd tell you not to give up your day job, but hookers work at night. Everyone had a big laugh. We all had fun. And I said, "Thank you. Good night." And then I went out to the bar afterwards, and she came up to me with a friend and said, furiously said, "You owe my friend an apology. You called her a hooker." And I said, "Well, you yelled out and said, while I was doing my show, said that I should, do not quit my day job." And she said, "Well, I demand an apology." And I went, "Fuck off," like that, because I'm brash. And then she went, "Oh, well, I'm going to go and tell the manager." Now, I know the manager of the Comics Lounge, and he's worse off. You shouldn't have gone up to him. And I watched her go up, and I went, "This will be good." And she went, "I just went up to your comedian and he told me to fuck off." And he went, "Oh, well, why didn't you fuck off then?" And I was just sitting there just going, "Yes."
What was her face in that moment?
No, that was it. Then she probably went on Yelp and put a bad review, and they don't care at the Comics Lounge. They're legends there, so it was funny.
Half the comedies. Sometimes you got to be brash.
You got to.
Yeah.
That's what comedy is.
Exactly.
It's meant to be fun if done in the right way.
Who's the funniest person you know?
My friend Nathan.
Nathan. Yeah,
Nathan. You know Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan.
Hilarious, Nathan.
Yeah, what a guy.
I think he's the funniest person I know. He's just a mate of mine, and he's not a comedian. He always makes me laugh, and that's usually the case. Is it someone in your life that they are always funny and always do the goofy thing. He's very physical, and he'll put himself in harm's way for the joke and stuff like that. So, despite the fact that I've met luckily, and it's the greatest thrill of my life that I've met some of the best comedians in the world and spent time with them and stuff. No one makes me laugh more than like my friends when they're just being idiots. That's when you get those real gut-wrenching in-joke sort of laughs. You know when you got those ones? It's very hard to replicate that in a stand-up environment to get a whole
25 years.
Lead in of knowing someone and knowing, wow, that had some history behind what they just said then. But it's hard to get that. You can get it on stage sometimes, and when you do, it's beautiful. But I find that around your friendship group, just silly things when you're out drinking and being just idiots, that's where the real funny shit happens.
What's one joke from another comedian you wish you wrote?
Oh, one of my favourite jokes is from one of Australia's greatest comedians, Greg Fleet. Do you know Greg Fleet? He's an older guy, but he had this great joke and I loved it when he did it. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind me repeating it here because it's his joke, just letting everyone know.
So we're going to clip this?
Clip this where I just steal his material and look like a jerk. He's walking along the street with the love of his life, like this beautiful girl that he's just deeply in love with, and then a carload of guys drive past. And so I'll play it out like he does. He goes, "I'm walking around with the love of my life. We're walking along, and a carload of guys drives past, and one yells out the window, 'Fuck her, we did.'" And I just went, "Oh, you slut." And then she goes, "What? I don't even know those guys." And I said, "You fucked a carload of guys and you don't even know them?" It's just such a good turn. I loved that joke.
I love it. That's a good one. I want to play a game with you. Best, worst, and weirdest stand-up comedy experiences.
Best is I did Hamer Hall last year. I headlined Hamer Hall in Melbourne. That was the biggest show I've ever done.
What's the capacity?
3,000.
Oh, sick. Sold 800 tickets?
I sold 7 tickets to my family members, but we were in there.
And reimbursed on the back end.
I lost a lot of money that night. No, I think there was over 2,000. It wasn't full, but it was full enough. And it was the biggest show I've ever done. And plus to be in that environment where the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra plays and I'm up up there telling dick jokes was hilarious. And so that was a big highlight of my career. And I've worked very hard to get to a point where, I sold that many tickets in my hometown. So that was definitely a highlight for sure.
Nice. What's the worst?
They're never that bad. But if I'm trying to picture what the worst was, I tell you what, probably 10 years ago, longer actually, I'd only been doing comedy for quite a couple of years. The Hells Angels asked me to do a show for them out at the Comics Lounge again.
For context, the Hells Angels is an Australian motorcycle gang.
Huge deal where they're just rough guys, and their day was like a tattoo show, but they had comedy at the end. So they invited me there at like lunchtime, but I didn't go on stage until 9 p.m. So 9 hours, these Hells Angels were making me drink heavily with them. And then I went on stage so drunk. Like, I don't remember being on stage. I fell off the stage and I just said, any drink you bring up here, I'll scull for you guys. And so I was sculling a jug of beer and then a pint of something. And I was so, it was embarrassing. And then I got a 2-page write-up in the Harley Davidson magazine about how much they enjoyed this show. And he went up there and he just drank anything we gave him and it was great. But that was a low point.
So you knew your audience basically.
Yeah, I'm like, I know what they want. They don't want my comments about airplane food. What they want is me drinking Jaeger bombs in front of them. But that was that off the top of my head was not a great experience.
Great. What about the weirdest?
Probably that one too, I guess.
Kill two birds with one stone there.
I'd say that was definitely the weirdest.
What's the biggest myth in stand-up comedy you can debunk?
That all comedians are depressed. It's come up a lot lately. People have said, but all comedians are like depressed. And I'm like, no, they're not. I tell you who's depressed is shit comedians because they're upset because they're not funny. They're not doing what they want to do in their careers because they're not good. So unfortunately, that depression might be because you've picked the wrong career choice, or maybe you're not going to get to the place where you want to be. But every comedian that I know and meet is successful, is comfortable in themselves and doing great things, are just silly people. Silly always wins. So there's a big debate of whether, you should be political and you should make people think and stuff. Steve Martin sold out stadiums by being silly. Okay. And that's what he said. He said, silly wins every time. So I'm going to debunk that all comedians they've definitely got something like fucked up about them, comedians, because you have to have something to have sort of a funny streak about you. So that's something that when I did Joe Rogan's podcast, sorry, name dropping, but he said to me, so how are you fucked up? Like I just laughed and I went, I told him what, and he said, that's the same one for me. So
how are you fucked up?
Oh, because of father leaving when I was a kid, and the same thing happened to Joe. So we had to use humor to make our mother and my sisters like laugh and feel safe and stuff. So that's where the humor came from.
Putting the reps early. Yeah,
putting in the reps early. So making sure everyone felt good around. Yeah, thanks, Dad. You fucked off, but you gave me that. Now I'm traipsing around the world telling dick jokes as a result of having no father growing up.
So if I wanted to become funny, what would be the 3 most important things for me to do?
Yeah, lose your dad early on. That's a big one. You be authentically yourself. I know a lot of people say that and they go as you just got to be yourself and then you'll be funny. Now, what they mean is be comfortable in your view of the world so that you can speak it with truth to an audience. People want to hear your experiences. They don't want to be fed experiences you think they want to hear. It's like music. If you try and make a pop song and go, people will like this because they like this and this and this, that doesn't work. But if you write really deep lyrics that mean something and there's a really interesting baseline, that's why Nirvana was so successful, because it struck everyone in a different way and everyone went, ooh, like that. And the same works with comedy. So if you can be authentically yourself and show the audience your view of the world through your eyes, that's the best way to have them be immersed in your experience and to be funny from there. Then you got to actually lace in the jokes and stuff, but that's the harder part, is to be authentically comfortable in yourself, because that's when audiences really feel comfortable in themselves to let themselves be part of your experience.
What's the funnest experience you've had with a fellow comedian backstage?
Rob Schneider, every time that I'm with Rob is the funniest thing because the great thing about working with other comedians that you get along with really well and know is you know exactly what's happening in the evening. All right, we're going out to perform to a bunch of people that are expecting a thing, but we're also here to make each other laugh as well and dick around and off stage try and put Rob off or whatever we're doing, and that's the most fun part of being on the road because you're on the road so much. You're in hotel rooms, you're being stupid. So backstage with Rob when we're in one of our silly moods is about as funny as life can get. It's so ridiculous because it's an in-joke, like I said, with your friends. We're doing an in-joke while there's 1,200 people waiting in a room for us to deliver our material, but just funny stuff like that. I've worked with another comedian that I started with called Troy Kinney back in Australia, and I used to it's funny doing things backstage. I remember one time we were about to present and do stand-up in front of about 1,000 people at this big conference. And I saw this teacup on the table and I said, go out with the teacup and do your whole stand-up holding this teacup and don't address it at all. And we were just pissing ourselves at that for us. Like the audience wouldn't have known what was going on. But we were in hysterics laughing at him with a teacup doing his whole stand-up set. So those kind of things are the funniest for sure.
Yeah, that's great. It reminds me of what we were speaking about yesterday with my friend who went on TV.
Yeah, and you had to give him some words to get out. But it makes it fun. It's so bringing ridiculous. In-jokes into something that is essentially daunting. You're on
serious.
TV.
Yeah. It lightens it. Yeah. Not all that serious, you know?
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received and how did you apply it to your life?
You know what? I love this that I'm just name dropping like a jerk, but I wrote a film with Rob Schneider and John Cleese.
Okay.
And whatever. Just casually writing with one of the greatest comedic performers of all time. And we would write for a couple of hours in the morning. And when you're writing, and if anyone is a writer, they think, I need to do this all day. And they're banging their head against the wall to come up with creative ideas, concepts and stuff like that. We'd write for 2 hours in the morning. And then suddenly John would just go, okay, the comedy has left the room. Let's go and get something to eat. And I'd be there going, no, we have to work. We have to keep doing this. But then we would go and have lunch and we'd talk about what we just talked about at lunch and get more out of it. And then we'd come back to it for just another hour in the afternoon and jot down what we talked about at lunch. And I realized after 5 days of doing that, we got way more out than we would have if we sat there banging our heads against the wall. So a big thing from John that I learned is you can't push creativity. It does come. That's why it comes in the shower when you're not ready for it and everything like that because you're not trying to push it. Happens. Yeah, and you're naked and you got nowhere to write it down. You're like,
I've got a waterproof notepad.
Oh, you do?
It sits on my wall in the shower with a pencil.
I need it while I'm driving all the time. And I'm like, oh Jesus,
a waterproof notepad.
Yeah, waterproof notepad. I spit a lot when I'm driving. But that was the best advice. Well, thing that I learnt, and I mean, it came from a comedy genius, so it was always good. So now I don't try and push creatively too much. I don't try and push jokes too much. I just let them kind of come. You harness them when they come and then just let them evolve as they would naturally rather than trying to craft them too much. I think with stand-up sometimes if you really try to craft too much, you can come across like a news reporter almost delivering the topic that you've decided to talk on rather than a human being living it as they're talking it. So just that was the big advice. Let creativity come to you and harness it when you can.
What's the nicest thing somebody's ever done for you?
I tell you what, I'm going to throw it back to Rob Schneider because he's been a mentor and a friend to me for 10 years and he calls me once a week at least and he checks in and he talks comedy with me and just him being a mentor to me is one of the nicest and caring things that anyone's done for me. And I know he gets a lot out of it too. And we've had conversations because he's got 3 daughters, but I'm like a son to him and he's like a father to me. So that father that I lost that made me funny has now come in these other forms. And it's interesting that that my heroes have become these father figures, which is Rob Schneider has, and I'm lucky enough, again, name dropping, sorry, but I've been on the road with Adam Sandler, and I've learnt a lot from these guys, and I worked on the road with Joe Rogan, and Joe was one of the first people that I've called with big moments of my life, and he's given me advice and stuff. So I've been lucky enough to get a lot of help and advice from my heroes and my peers. So the nicest thing that anyone has done for me is maybe a conglomerate of a few people, but Rob Schneider in particular, who's just been there for all of my ups and downs in my career, which is and my life, which has been really, really, really great.
What is the craziest story you've been a part of that makes you go, wait, what?
I'll quickly tell the story when I met Adam Sandler and a few of those guys for the first time. So Rob called me, Rob Schneider, I'd known him for years at the time. He called me from Las Vegas and said, I'm performing tonight with Adam Sandler. You should come out and see the show. And I got on a plane. I wanted to get out there, and I bought a ticket, and I'm watching the show, and out came David Spade, Norm Macdonald, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler. I'm watching my heroes. And then Rob came and got me, and I went backstage, and I'm watching from there. And then they asked me to go to dinner with them. So I'm sitting at a dinner table with, David Spade, Norm Macdonald, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller was there for some reason. And I'm looking around going, what am I doing at this table? How did this happen? And I said to myself, don't say anything. You're better off them thinking you're a deaf mute than anything you're going to say to impress these guys. So I just shut up and ate my dinner. And then Adam said to me, do you want to fly home with us tomorrow on the private jet? And I'm trying to act cool, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then we go over to the elevators. I realized, they think I'm staying at the same hotel as them. I wasn't. I couldn't afford to. So they went up to their rooms, and I went out to find a hotel room in my price range in Vegas, and I couldn't.
What was your price range?
Like $16.50, if that. And I couldn't find anything. It was Saturday night, and so it was like 5 a.m. and I had 5 hours to meet them back to go to the private airport. And next to their hotel was a park with like a bush, and I jumped into the bush and I slept in a bush. So yeah, in between having steak dinner with A-grade celebrities and flying home on a private jet, I slept in a bush in a park. And I never told those guys that I did that, but I'm better friends with them now. And about a year ago, I said to them, the first night we met, I slept in a bush outside your hotel because I couldn't afford a hotel room. And Rob Schneider goes, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You should have told me. I would have given you a pillow. And so that was the first night that I kind of met all those guys and stuff, but I was still broke and had nothing. So I slept in a bush.
Was the bush comfortable?
No. And I had I had my backpack as a pillow in there. I don't even think I slept.
Why the bush? Why couldn't you just sleep on the ground?
I don't know. I didn't want to be open to attack. It's still America, so I wanted to be hidden. But I think about it now and I go, well, why didn't I just hang out on the casino floor? They're always open. Like I could have just stayed awake and I don't know, took some drugs. Who knows? But I decided to just nap in a bush for some reason.
I love that. Oh, Monty, thank you. I will see you on the other side.
No worries.
Let's
Thank you.